What's going on? What's happening? Welcome into Week 12 edition of the College Football Show presented by AT&T. And we are here to keep it a buck with you. We are here to take you through all things past, present, and future of college football. Treavor Scales, Elle, Duncan, Gary Striewski over in the corner as well. But, here's the thing, right? We know y'all are watching all the biggest matchups of the weekend. We are as well here with our multitude of screens, and one of which is that Georgia-Auburn game, right? So, we gonna get to it in a second.
Elle is upset.
The demeanor tells you everything you need to know about what's going down right now. 21-14, Georgia's up for the moment, and we will just ride out with that, and we will continue to
Georgia's given up 14 points in the last 4 minutes because they're going into prevent, so they're going to prevent themselves from getting away.
That's a good way to start Let's Talk Football. So let's do just that, right? So Georgia and Auburn squared away in an SEC matchup, the oldest rivalry in the SEC, right? The Deep South's oldest rivalry is getting down to the nitty-gritty. About 7 minutes left. Auburn just kicked the extra point to bring things within 7 points of a matchup that, frankly, look, Elle, you and I both know, it ain't easy rooting for teams out of the state of Georgia. I don't know why I keep doing it. Are you particularly sure?
Because we're sadists. It's because we're sadists. It's because we enjoy, we're like emotional cutters. We enjoy hurting ourselves week in and week out, time and time and time again.
That's exactly right.
You shut out Auburn until 5 minutes left into the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden you give up 14 points in 3 minutes because you're just running the ball up the middle 3 times. You're going into prevent, a soft zone. Have you not learned time and time and time again to stop doing this?
We will get more coaching from Elle Duncan in just a second. For the moment, let's update you on another matchup from earlier today out of the SEC. Alabama taking on Mississippi State. Tua Tagovailoa, obviously the subject of this here highlight for a couple different reasons, right? Pre-game, it was noted that he made sure to have a special set of cleats, went through an extra rigorous warm-up to make sure that ankle was fine. And early on, things looked good for the Tide. He was dividing the ball amongst all the skilled positions that he has at his disposal. Henry Ruggs Jr., Najee Harris, more on him in a little bit. But this play here, late in the second quarter, the last drive theoretically for Tua to take, and he goes down. It's been diagnosed as a hip injury. There have been some other speculations as far as him being done for the rest of the season. We're still waiting to confirm reports like that floating around. But look, this is a tragic injury to a cat that was on his way to a Heisman campaign, potentially the #1 pick. And obviously in the now, he was an integral part of Alabama's offense, right? So they were up 35-7. They only mustered 3 points in the second half. And that's just a devastating blow to the Tide. Not ill.
It is, and more importantly, because football aside, Alabama is fine, and Alabama, let's be real, was going to have to work some magic and hope that people were going to lose in order to make, probably, in my opinion, the playoffs anyway after losing to LSU. But this isn't about Alabama. This is about Tua. It looked like a devastating injury. Obviously, nobody here wants to speculate, but there's a lot of Bo Jackson being thrown around that this looks like or has the potential to be the same type of injury that ended his career in 1991. To see him screaming in pain, it's devastating, and I'm praying for him and his family, because this is a football family. There was obviously a lot riding on Tua. He wants to play. His family wants him to play. They've invested their entire lives into this, and to see something happen potentially that could affect that and his ability to play in the future, because we're not talking about season-ending.
No, this is one of those career things that you start to worry about.
He had to be life-flighted,
and we have gotten word. We are reporting at ESPN that he is done for the season, dislocated hip, and that's just one of those things where you think about the hip bone and where that's located as far as motion and any sort of movement goes, and that's a vital part of it. And so it's a long road to recovery to begin with, and hopefully he does bounce back. And so he was airlifted to a Birmingham hospital. They got him taken care of as soon as they possibly could, but that is just one of the most devastating storylines to come out of that Alabama football program in quite some time. We wish them the best. Obviously, they get the win 38-7, but that kind of feels like a side note to everything that's gone on there. And by the way, this is like a larger part of the story for Alabama in general today. They went down 4 different players in this. It felt like every single series, somebody was going down with injury. So we had Tua. Yeah, we talked about Tua. Henry Ruggs III. Go ahead, react, girl. It's fine.
Oh God, I can't tell if he dropped it or if it was a terrible throw.
I know watching games like this on mute is terrible. Henry Ruggs III goes out. He exits early as well. Raekwon Davis, defensive defensive tackle, goes out with a leg injury, and DJ Dale, another defensive tackle, twisted knee there. And Nick Saban said after the game, right, like, hey, look, we're going to get everybody updated as soon as possible on everything that goes on with the injury report and everything. But obviously, Tua, the headline, something they got to figure out above all else. But to go back to Tua, just real quick, this is part of a larger discussion for his injury history, and this is going to be something that like scares NFL scouts, right? Because this ain't the first. It's obviously the most severe, but it's certainly not the first ever injury discussion we're having about Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people remember the most recent surgery a few weeks ago, of course, the tightrope surgery last year, but he also had various quad and leg injuries in 2018 as well, broke his finger and had surgery. So, you know, you hate to use that word injury prone, but in college in particular, those can be warning signs and red flags. And for someone that would have been probably a non-traditional type of pro quarterback anyway, right? Like there was always questions about Tua and his size and his durability, but that does become an issue when you're thinking about taking a flyer on someone.
It certainly doesn't help, but for the Tide fans, we will spare you a little mercy here. Let's end things on a high note. The best performer presented by AT&T came from your backfield as well, Najee Harris. That man got off to the fastest start out of everybody in that Alabama team. Oh my God. Yeah, see, okay, so Georgia just had a big incompletion, just as a side note.
Another 3 and out.
Najee Harris, 4 total touchdowns on the day. He racked up 3 rushing, 1 receiving, 139 total yards on the day. He had 88 on the ground, 51 receiving. The man is an integral part of that offense as well, and they are going to have to lean on the likes of him and others if they expect to make a playoff push at this point, given the injury situation that they find themselves in, specifically at that quarterback position. We know Mac Jones can step in, do his thing, kind of cover you up a little bit, but they're going to have to lean on the run game a lot more and continue to just spread the ball around to a bunch of different receivers. Hey, can you update us on Georgia real quick?
Just another 3 and out. There's 6 minutes left now. And Auburn is only down by a touchdown. And this is what I was saying all along. Great. It's something that, you know what, honestly, I don't know why I'm upset, because I saw this coming. I saw this coming before kickoff.
You did.
Because this is what happens.
Trevor,
another distraction.
We can't confirm that the production team has the bleep button ready because Elle is on the verge.
Yeah, just Elle is on the verge. Keep it tight, though.
It's the internet, but we're about to violate some rules. I'm pretty sure I get
So the whole half you want to run the ball because you want to just get time off the clock, but then with actually 6 minutes left, you just throw the ball 3 times and you take no time off the clock. I just don't understand the play calling. I don't understand what they're trying to do. I don't know, like, what.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you're coaching in this particular situation, but it just doesn't seem correct.
We got a lot of things to figure out.
That's all I'm going to do.
That's okay. That's okay.
On Georgia.
Let it out. Let it out. We are here to help you on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. And the very next highlight we're going to talk about is Clemson, a team that has kind of started to pick up steam as we move through this college football season. These jokers, as many questions as we had at the top of this mug, they have answered quite a few of them. They played Wake Forest today, 26 straight wins for the Clemson Tigers, another 50-piece as well. They're 6th on the season. That is the highest in the bowl division. Can someone please explain to me, by the way, why Travis Etienne ain't getting more carries? The brother's averaging like 9 yards a carry, and we just decide, we'll give him spells here and there. He's one of the most dynamic players in all of college football, and we just decided to kind of spare him.
Looks like they're saving him for New Orleans.
That's fair.
Clemson is leveling up. Was it Super Scion power? Because there you go. All right, I appreciate that, Trevor, because everybody was calling into question like the legitimacy of this Clemson offense, forgetting that all of their offensive playmakers were like coming back and they were going to hit their stride, and that's exactly what they're doing. And they haven't scored like sub 40 since that 1-point scare to UNC. Clemson looks strong. I know it was against the Wake Forest team, and like Trevor Lawrence didn't have to play in the 4th quarter, and he had his doppelganger up there, and they were having a good old time. But Clemson looks strong, and they deserve to be in that top 4. So they're just giving Etienne the spell on those legs.
Yeah, they don't need him right now. You definitely don't need him right now. And I would say, too, I wrote this number down because I thought it was so ridiculous. Because I've sat on plenty of desks where people have been criticizing Trevor Lawrence and his draft stock being affected and, you know, what's going to happen with Trevor. Since he threw those 2 picks in the 1st quarter at Louisville, right? Yeah. And everyone was like,
everybody
Chicken Little, sky is falling. Everyone included, like, what happened to him? He's regressing.
Yeah.
He has now completed 78% of his passes for 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns.
That's insane.
If that's not answering, and in particular a number that stood out to me is facing the blitzes. He has 13 touchdowns and no interceptions when he's facing opposing blitzes, telling me that he's standing in there strong, and he's got the same confidence that we saw in the national championship that a lot of people questioned through the first few weeks of the season. So Clemson's fine.
And I've said it time and time again. Like, I really felt like the weight of the world kind of collapsed onto Trevor Lawrence's shoulders this season because it wasn't the same story of him being a freshman that gets to trot out there and be the savior and sunshine without any sort of expectations, and everything that he does is just like icing on the cake. Now we expect you to do this, and I felt the weight of the world kind of hit him a little heavier than he expected. But like you said, since those 2 interceptions, that joker has been balling. What did you say, 78%?
78%. And, I think, dude, there's an expectation. When you steamroll a team like Alabama in the national championship, people just want to say it's Clemson that came into this season, and they should be beating everybody by a million, right?
For sure.
In particular, because they haven't really played
and
anybody.
They won't in their
but
conference.
They lost some people too, guys. Like, this is not the exact same Clemson team, and people see them coming now. People have tape of Trevor Lawrence now.
Specifically defensively, right? Like, they lost that massive unit that they had in the front four, that Power Rangers, the group Power Rangers, Christopher Wilkins and them, right? Like, that was no small loss for a national championship team, albeit dominant is all outdoors, but they were still losing personnel in very key positions. As we continue on with the College Football Show presented by AT&T, the reaction from Elle tells me I need to look at something here. This is pressure, but we will talk about something that doesn't have a whole lot of pressure, and that would be Ohio State taking on Rutgers. It was a lot of what you expect from the Ohio State Buckeyes. It is in the form of J.K. Dobbins doing his thing, Justin Fields as well. 17 carries for J.K., 2 of them touchdowns. Justin Fields, 15 to 19, 305 yards on those 15 completions. I'm sorry, Elle. Look, I know this is just bad timing to be talking about a former Georgia Bulldog. Like, it's a terrible thing to be having to talk about this joker who walked out of Athens and into an Ohio State Buckeyes uniform and continues the ball. But just to quickly update you as to why, my homie here is a little distraught. 21-14. Again, we run that down 3
4th and 5 situation. Georgia could get a stop, and they just allow Bo Nix to do scrambling and run for the first down.
And look, Bo Nix is a completely different quarterback at the crib. Look, he's bound to make some plays, and you got to be able to prevent all of that from happening if you're the Georgia defense. Correct. Speak that into existence again.
Get a turnover.
Yes.
I did it in the second quarter.
You sure did, so we need more of that. Minnesota and Iowa also squaring off today. We kind of breezed through the Ohio State Buckeyes because we knew they were going to take care of business, but Minnesota and Iowa are in much more of a chess match here as we see it winding down in the fourth quarter, 23-19, and frankly, I'm going to sit here and claim this. I called it because I said weird stuff happens in Kinnick Stadium when Kirk Ferentz is at the helm. And what do you know? Them roll the boat jokers walked into a windstorm that is the Iowa, what are they? I done forgot.
The Hawkeyes.
Thank you. I done forgot. Look, I was stuck on Buckeyes and I was about to say, I was like, it's not a Buckeye. I know it's not a Buckeye.
Listen, when in doubt, Trevor, just say them folk. Them Iowa folk.
I got caught up slipping. I got caught slipping. There's really no other explanation.
Important to note that there's still 3 minutes left. So you know Flex got his dudes out there.
Hey.
I can't wait. I have a
college football playoff
song and everything ready.
They try to stay up in there. They better.
They just scored?
3rd and 4. No. 3rd and 4.
Oh, okay. Minnesota just scored, which brought them to within 4 points with 3 minutes left. Okay, gotcha.
Correct. 3rd and 4 now. We got to see where the ball is placed at the moment, but for now, we will move on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. As you hear Elle talk about this here catch that was not a catch. Nebraska and Wisconsin squaring off. A little Big Ten West matchup. Look, Wisconsin ain't got too much to play for aside from just trying to make some noise in the West Division, especially if Minnesota ends up falling. They may have something to say specifically on that side, but it still is a lot to kind of shake out if they want to get back into this picture, at least in the Big Ten Conference Championship. But Jonathan Taylor, his usual self, 204 yards, 2 touchdowns, his 11th 200-yard rushing game in his career, tied for most all time. His 3rd 200-yard game against Nebraska. And just as a side note, Scott Frost evidently signed an extension.
It absolutely befuddles the mind that you can win 8 games in 2 seasons and you get an extension. You're like, you know what? Not only do we think you're doing a great job, we want you to keep doing this super average job through 2026. I wish I had that kind of job.
No, I was not playing.
Oh, shoot. All right.
Through 2026. 6, you're going to get more of this.
Hey, this just in.
Listen, I understand. Like, are you joking?
I can't hate.
They love their alumni so much that they're paying.
The bag.
But
bring Gabrielle Union and let her coach.
But what you do have to give these college coaches, and I will say that you have to at least, because these guys are getting their jobs cut short after like 2 seasons. That's not even a full recruiting class yet.
Nobody said that, Gary, but based on 8 wins through 2 seasons, to say, you know what? We feel good about this through 2026.
So
that's 7 more years.
Maybe preemptive on the big extension.
It feels like jumping the gun a bit.
You got to give them like a full recruiting class, and I know fan bases.
Nobody said you shouldn't.
Ain't nothing wrong with patience.
But a full recruiting class is not 9 years, Gary.
We good with 7 years of this.
Listen, what if he
7 years? Who gets extensions that long?
All right, bud. Sounds good, pal.
Keep that going. We will keep going with the Big Ten. Michigan and Michigan State.
9 years of a recruiting class?
For the Paul Bunyan Trophy.
Shea Patterson and the Michigan Wolverines offense found a little identity. I guess it was a weird game early on. I thought maybe Michigan State was going to pull off something that not a whole lot of people expected, but I think the identity has been solidified as far as the Michigan Wolverines go. Just don't make Shea Patterson do too much. And I know his stat line looks good. 23 for 32, 345 yards, 3 scores. But again, they allowed him to just spread the ball around. Don't try to make any difficult decisions. Allow the playmakers like Jacques Charbonnet and them to make those plays. Get the big receivers like Donovan Peoples-Jones involved in everything. Elle, can you give us an update on Georgia Auburn, just real quick?
It's now 4th and 1.
Okay.
Because he just let Bo Nix scramble again.
Okay.
And he just keeps running it right up the gut.
Okay.
But yeah, that's where we're at. I believe it'll be 4th and a little over a yard.
Elle Duncan is my eyes
3 minutes
and heart
left in the game
on this college football show presented by AT&T. We are watching Georgia and Auburn square away.
Real quick side note,
yeah, go ahead,
Michigan, because I saw somewhere where we're discussing the show where it's like Michigan still has. Okay, you get a pat on the back for beating your rival that's 4-5. Like that's not why you paid Jim about $10 million a year. Sorry.
No, I mean, but like it keeps the discussion
Small
about
victories.
him getting tossed about the paint
Listen,
at Bay, right?
Yes, because Harbaugh is the Jason Garrett of college football. He does like just enough. Yes, let's go. Sorry,
that was a fourth down stop. That was a 4th down stop for the Georgia Bulldogs.
There we go. Let's go.
About 2 minutes and 24 seconds remaining in that game. We here at the College Football Show presented by AT&T are here to take you through all things past, present, and future. That includes the games going down right now that caused quite a bit of stress on this here set. And that's just
let's stop giving context to it, so that way people joining are like, what is else?
You're never going to invite me back on this show during a Georgia game.
But look, that's fair.
Hindsight, this was not a good idea.
On the other side of things, Notre Dame took on Navy earlier today, and Notre Dame put up a 50-piece, right? Like, I don't know how much we're expecting out of Notre Dame these days. Look, it's a weird situation with them as well. 2 losses in which they got dominated in, but they continue to kind of put up numbers that'll make you think that they are worth a discussion point. But frankly, it feels like the brand is going to always carry something.
Ryan Kelly wasn't brought there to beat Navy. Like, this is not. So what? So?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Harbaugh, that you're supposed to beat MSU.
And to your point,
you have national championship aspirations. So beating Navy doesn't mean anything. I'm sorry. No offense to the midshipmen. I get that they're ranked technically, but I mean, like, do you think that Kirby Smart would get extended because he beat App State? That doesn't mean anything.
No, they would not. Like, it's understanding that.
And Brian Kelly is just like Harbaugh. Like, he'll do just enough. He'll have some of these wins at the end of the season. He'll win a bowl game. They'll keep him around because they can't justify firing someone.
It'll look good on paper, right? The resume will look good on paper, and that's how they'll move on. He'll have 9 wins, and that's why they never move on. It's purgatory. It's just this perpetual cycle. And I, at the very least, give Georgia credit for that. Because Mark Richt, by many standards, was an incredible coach for them. And they realized when they had to just read the tea leaves and say, this is as much as we're ever going to get from Mark Richt. And if we want to take the next step, we have to move on. And what did they do? They moved on, and 2 years later, they were getting their heart broken in the national championship. But they were there. But why you got to bring up like that part of the great story of just redemption?
They were there.
Since it is what it is. Just as a side note with that Notre Dame too, it breaks the longest sellout streak at home for them. 273 straight games dating back to 1973. And that is now over. They did not sell out that crowd.
That should tell you how they feel about the future of Notre Dame and how the future of Notre Dame might be contingent on that coach.
Hey, you know what? Look, as we kind of continue on this college football show presented by AT&T, I think now's a good time to kind of settle in and really just enjoy this game for what it is. I don't know if enjoy is the right verb because I'm not enjoying myself watching this game. I'm gonna keep it a buck.
It's like they might as well take a knee. Don't even hand the ball off because then you might fumble. Just go ahead and take a knee, Kirby. Yeah. That's essentially what you're doing.
No, and I feel your frustration. Like, I relate to it on a spiritual level because we talked about the play calling because I knew the moment he got comfortable with his run game being a little bit more productive than it should have been, right? DeAndre Swift snaps off a couple first down runs and go for 10 plus, and then it's like, oh, you know what? We can revel in this. We can lean into this. When in actuality, you still need to continue the aggressive play calling that got you up 21-0. And that's one of the most frustrating things about this Georgia offense.
Don't be dumb with your aggressive play calling. And when you have 6 minutes and you need to run a little bit of time off the clock, just throw the ball 3 times. It's a give and take, and that's the whole point. It's like these dudes are paid to know when to do that. So you don't just run the ball up the middle 3 times for a 3 and out, and you don't just throw the ball 3 times for a 3 and out. Let's get a little creative and mix it up.
A massive third down coming up real quick here, and to the production room. I'm gonna just stick with it just for a second. I'm gonna just stick with this for a second. 3rd and 5. Jake Fromm drops back, throws to his left on a check down, and that goes nowhere. As you can see,
blocking
from Elle's reaction. We're gonna collect ourselves just for a moment, try to get ourselves right, and figure out if we can kind of just gather ourselves. If you don't mind, just give us a second.
Problematic when I hit automatic, like
it's a matchup of the top teams in the Big 12.
Showtime.
Game day is going to be there. It's going to be huge.
You only get game day when you've earned it.
Matt Rule has been awesome for this program.
It's definitely a culture of toughness.
Baylor has literally come out of nowhere.
Brewer, caught, touchdown! An excellent drive by the Baylor Bears.
We know that Oklahoma is going to put up some points.
I don't think it's ever enough.
Hurts up the middle, at the goal line, he's in again.
Jalen's done a great job.
CD for the TD! CD Lamb, it's already his night.
He doesn't have a lot of weaknesses.
I hope he continues to make plays for us. Anybody can score at any point, any part of the field.
Oklahoma's a dynamic team.
Oklahoma played really well in all 3 phases of the game. We know we can be a lot better.
You can't stop that offense.
Baylor's off to their best start since 2013 at 9-0. I'd like to think we're off to a pretty dang good start here ourselves on the College Football Show, but it only gets better when Maria Taylor joins us. Maria, what's happening?
Hey, Twitter Live fam, Maria Taylor made it to Waco, Texas, and as you can see, OU's starting to warm up, and we've got Baylor, the undefeated Baylor Bears, right now on the field, looking to defend home turf here in McLean Stadium. Now, something of note, CD Lamb, the star wide receiver for Oklahoma, was listed as questionable right before the game, so we're down here on the sidelines trying to figure out whether or not he'll actually be able to go. The question will be, if he cannot, who will Jalen depend on? Who will be that guy that's making plays out here on the offense for OU? And of course, for Matt Rule and Baylor, it's about how do you handle the pressure of being undefeated, having game day here, and having an opportunity to play in a Big 12 championship. We'll figure it all out really soon as we get set for kickoff. See you later.
We have entered the primetime preview portion of this here college football show. What better way to get things rolling than with a little today's lesson provided to you by Dos Equis, and it comes courtesy of Dan Orlovsky.
Hey, this is Dan Orlovsky with the College Football Show, and today's lesson is about what Jalen Hurts and Oklahoma have to do to keep their playoff hopes alive and how Baylor can put themselves in the center of the conversation. Key 1, Oklahoma's defense. Stop giving up the massive chunk plays. You've got to make Charlie Brewer in this Baylor offense earn their yards against you. And key number 2 for the Baylor defense, where's CeeDee Lamb? He's the focal point of the Oklahoma offense, and he's what makes it go. If you slow him down, you slow down that dynamic Oklahoma offense. And that is today's lesson.
Today's lesson was brought to you by Dos Equis, and they remind you to enroll in their college football college. Win any football argument with a football watching degree from their online school. Classes in session at dosequis.com/edu. I'm going to tighten up my posture in the meantime, but also we will also take a look at this here primetime matchup between Baylor and Oklahoma. CeeDee Lamb, it was mentioned by Maria Taylor that he was listed as questionable. He had told several reporters and indicated that he is good to go for this here tilt. A vital part of that offense, man. He's the one guy that you can just chuck it out to, and he makes quite a bit happen. Elle, let's clapping because we got a big stop here going down on the college football show. It is 3rd down and 10. It was just a good stop on 3rd down and 10 by the Georgia Bulldogs. But to kind of go back to this here primetime preview, just real quick, right? Number 10, Oklahoma taking on 13, Baylor on ABC at 7:30 Eastern. And it's a matter of kind of telling the tale of two seasons for the Oklahoma Sooners, right? They were doorsing people to start this thing. Margin of victory near 31 points. Their defense was playing out of their minds, frankly. But now they're at a point where they're not nearly playing as well. I thought the defensive backfield was one of the things that was always worrisome with that group, right? And they were getting there with the front seven, and it wasn't much of an issue. Big stop on 4th down. Georgia Bulldogs take over with about a minute and change left. Auburn has 0 timeouts. That's it! Vital.
That's it! Let's go!
Talk your stuff. I ain't mad.
Look, I knew it all along.
While Elle revels in victory,
yes,
I just don't see it. Baylor, I understand that there's undefeated hype, but every game that they've played, it wasn't against a ranked team at the time, and I understand if you just look at the paper, the Big 12, they're undefeated, they're number 13. But they haven't really beat anybody but UTSA, which was week 2, convincingly. Everything's been like a 1-score game.
Correct.
So I understand that this is just hype, right? And like, oh my gosh, the Baylor Bears, can they really make a case for the CFP? Yeah, if they beat Oklahoma, but there's just not a shot this game's going to be close. And I know they get a little bit because they're playing at home, but Oklahoma is going to wreck Baylor.
I don't know if it's going to be that. Yeah, exactly. I think it may be a little bit a different temper. I think it'll be a close matchup, but I do think Oklahoma has the better roster, and for that reason, it'll kind of slide towards them. As a quick update to the College Football Show viewers here, presented by AT&T, Minnesota lost. So there's that.
Row your boat gently out the playoffs.
So we're clear. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but to go back to your point, Gary, even within the Big 12, right, they didn't have any wins that are really telling of their story, aside from TCU and maybe Kansas State, right?
They beat Kansas State by a good clip, 31-12, and Kansas State, we know.
And that's on the road. Like that's
just a solid team this season. So that's a quality win. But I mean, next thing I'm looking at here is, I mean, they beat TCU by 6, Oklahoma State by.
And TCU was, again, that was 9-9 at the end of regulation.
Almost 20 points by Oklahoma State. So I don't know. Like I said, I understand the hype built around this, and I'm super FOMO that I wasn't in Waco meeting Chip and Joanna Gaines. That's why I'm really upset. That's the
you seem like their love child.
Of my upset.
You could be their love child.
I could be. Actually, adopt me, please. But anyway, I just don't see Oklahoma losing, especially because they know they're going to have to step on some necks in order to break back into that college football playoff discussion, which now is feasible because it's starting to. The path is starting to clear now as these people who we thought were contenders are starting to lose.
We slim it down.
Minnesota.
We slim it down.
Yeah, I think that there's been a lot of discussion on some of the shows that I've been on over the last few weeks, like the potential that if Baylor goes undefeated and is the Big 12 champ, and then Clemson is the ACC champ, but we all know that they haven't really played anybody, like, would you make an argument for putting Baylor in over Clemson? And I would say, hell no. I think there's a sentimental element to why everyone's really all in on Baylor. And, like, what Matt Rule's done has been incredible.
Yes.
This was a hopeless situation. They were facing, like, the death penalty. It was bad, right?
He flips programs.
He did it at Temple. Like, he's been fantastic. So to think about where they were 3 years ago, and to think about the fact that they are 9-0 in the Big 12 and about to face Oklahoma, and, like, what... But I agree with you wholeheartedly. I know in the interest of the show, it's probably better to disagree with you guys. But I just don't see the eye test. And the committee was put there for a reason, so that they didn't do what the computer does and just look at strength of schedule. And if you say to yourself that you actually think that Baylor could beat an LSU, hell, an Alabama before, of course, the injury to Tua, I don't see it. I don't see it. They couldn't beat Clemson to me. So whether Clemson's played anybody or not, you know what Clemson's going to do.
Correct.
You know what they're going to do in the playoffs.
You know what they bring to the table.
You know what they bring to the table.
And it's unfortunate that, like, brand recognition carries so much weight because you want to think that they're taking an honest eye to it, but there are inherent biases in watching sports. Like, you're not able to just completely wash away the memory of the past 4 some odd years that we've watched Clemson dominate, that we've watched Bama do their thing. So you're not going to be able to just eliminate the bias behind brands, but there is something to say that Baylor is a respectable team, but they're not quite in that elite tier yet. And I think we're going to see that manifest itself in this evening's matchup.
They're not keeping the defending champion champions out, undefeated ACC champions out of the playoffs. I'm sorry, they're not doing it.
I think that's totally that's a more than fair discussion. So as we talk about, just as a quick note too, like if Oklahoma goes down and they end up meeting Baylor again in the Big 12 championship, which is what it looks like, there's no way Oklahoma gets back into that playoff discussion. It would have to be the undefeated Baylor team to kind of represent the Big 12 if that's the way that is to play out.
Yes.
But to talk about the second biggest loss on the day, because Auburn caught an L, and me and Elle are excited about that. Let's talk about the other one that went down, Minnesota and Iowa. And this one, for me, watching this play out, you see Tanner Morgan didn't have a terrible day at the office, right? He found his guy, Rashad Bateman, but what this was about was the stifling run defense that Iowa put on Minnesota. They were averaging maybe 2 yards a carry in the first half, was Minnesota, and Iowa just was able to make play after play. They were the ones kind of capitalizing in the run game. Otherwise, on the stat sheet, it really wasn't that indicative of Iowa dominating the contest the way that they did.
Yeah, and in particular, you speak about running on the Iowa side. I think coming into this game, they were very undisciplined with their rushing attack. So they were averaging like 2.9 yards per carry. And through the first half of their game against Minnesota, they were up in the 7.5, 8 range. So, time of possession is key in a game like this.
No doubt.
Right? You want to keep the ball out of Minnesota's hands. That's exactly what they did by successfully running the ball.
And look, this is why Kirk Ferentz is the longest senior coach in college football, right?
He always wrecks.
Yes. He finds a way to just pick somebody off.
Yes.
And it's like a marquee win, and Kirk Ferentz is there with you for 7 more years.
Right.
Like, that's just
like, don't introduce Ferentz to your girl.
No,
you know
don't do it.
He's Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Steal your hopes and dreams. He's a dream assassin. You
Snatch.
Hear me? He don't mess around.
Oh, you
He's
think Ohio State that you're gonna go to the playoffs? Snatch.
Yoink.
Got her. Got him.
What was that? One more time, say it. Baylor. Oh, you want to talk a little Baylor? We can talk a little Baylor then and figure out what's going on with this Matt Rule-led program, the Baylor Bears, kind of getting into their matchup this evening. And this is one of those, again, matchups that I don't foresee kind of playing out well for Baylor, obviously. But it is a matter of them potentially making a case. So they go on to win. They win out, right? You're saying an undefeated Big 12 conference championship a champion would still need help in front of them in order to get into the playoff.
I believe Baylor, yes.
Yes, Baylor, yes. Undefeated.
Because it would be Baylor, an undefeated Big 12. I think, specifically Baylor. Like, I just don't think they would need some help. People would have to lose. We know Clemson's going to be in the top 4 because Clemson's going to go undefeated the rest of the season. They have no one left. It stands to reason LSU will do the same thing. Of course, obviously, cannibalizing is going to happen between LSU and Georgia, right? Like, one of them is going to, but there's still potential for LSU to lose in the SEC championship to Georgia and still make the playoffs. And I would still put a one-loss LSU team in over Baylor. And I'm sorry.
Oh.
Right, absolutely. Like, you're not going to. I do believe that the committee gives a little bit of weight to a team that existed most of the season in the top 5.
Oh, no doubt.
And so whether they lose or not, it feels like in a close game with Georgia, who's the number 4 team in the country, and then just took down Auburn, a top 10 team, they could still make it. So then you'd have Georgia and LSU in, both from the SEC, because if Georgia wins out, they're in. You'd have Clemson in. Are you going to tell me the other best team in the nation is Baylor? Because it isn't. Where's Ohio State in that?
You
mix,
mentioned
right?
the subjective nature of this committee, this 13-member committee that is supposed to look at games and say who are the best 4 teams according to my opinion and my acumen. They're not going to look at Baylor and say that. There's just no way. I think defensively they are doing things that are really impressive, right? Especially within their conference.
Yeah.
But outside of
especially
that,
for Big 12 standards. But
correct. Outside of that, I can't give them too much weight as far as a contender in the college football playoff.
We can debate that all day. There is no debate that Joe Burrow right now front runner in the Heisman. And
he just had to throw that one in there because you got to talk to him or whatever.
For some reason, we've been following him. I've been to 3 of Joe Burrow's games, and they were all the ranked games, and he has been playing lights out. No difference, off to a hot start today, so we're going to show you what's going down right now. LSU at Ole Miss. I know I jumped the gun a little bit on you guys, but Ole Miss, they got the smooth helmets on tonight.
Okay, and that's about a little uniform?
And that's about as smooth as they're looking right now because Joe Burrow on this opening drive.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Evades, scrambles, flick, Jamar, chase. Just like that, 34 yards.
Hey, real quick, Elle is so unimpressed. It's hilarious.
It's Ole Miss.
Well, and this is just what we need to expect now from Joe Burrow.
You're absolutely right.
Joe Burrow did this against Alabama. That was impressive.
That's what I'm saying.
I was tickled me impressed last week, and listen, I'll be the first one to be like, he used to get on my nerves so bad because, well, we do a show. We used to do a show on Saturdays at SportsCenter, and like, you know, we're doing this live hit. It's before his first game, and Marty Smith is like, I sat down with Joe Burrow, you know, in the Marty Smith way, and he tosses to his package, and the first thing is a cut of Joe Burrow's going, football is Joe Burrow's, and I was like, who the hell is Joe Burrow? You haven't even taken a snap. And it was annoying. But you know what? I really love his moxie and bravado now. Like, I'm a big fan of that because he believed in himself. He's not lacking in confidence, but he certainly backs it up. And I'm like, listen, maybe football is Joe Burrow's.
Yeah,
like,
Joe Burrow, the Heisman man right now. He got it.
He's got the juice.
That Joe Burrow is what Macaulay Culkin should have grown up to look like. You can never erase that image out of your head.
Every time I see him now, I hate you.
Now, every time you look at Joe Burrow, you're going to think of the Wet Bandits. You're going to think of him being lost in New York City.
Pulling pranks in the house.
I saw Macaulay Culkin, a picture of him and People today, and I was like, oh, Joe, you could have been Joe.
Joe Burrow, Macaulay Culkin. We're keeping it moving. We mentioned just a couple minutes ago that Minnesota's bid, it's over, finito, at the hands of the Iowa Hawkeyes, and we're going to show you exactly how it went down. Minnesota,
top 20 matchup.
Number 20.
Yeah.
Iowa. Here we go. Minnesota falling 23-19. I think we got some video coming up here.
Oh, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Here we
just
go.
enact it. Really, you just reenact it.
We just want to see your pretty face.
I need video. Give me the video right now.
This is where you have to vamp.
You haven't said please yet.
Oh, okay. Please.
There it is.
There it is. I said please, and this is how things started. Minnesota's Rodney Smith. This is 1 yard punch in. All right, so this is what got them to within 4. All right, so Minnesota's hopes and dreams still very much alive. 70-ish seconds to go. Joe Evans sacks Tanner Morgan. That's a loss of 3, and that's not good, and it doesn't bode well for this Minnesota's 4th down. Cole Kramer, Hail Mary, and that'll do it.
And Doug, to kind of go back on that highlight,
that's how it ends.
You mentioned that 1 yard run for Rodney Smith that brought him within 4. The missed extra point there is so crucial. So crucial, right? Like, that goes from a 23-20 game in which you can go down the field, kick a field goal, and expect you as the better team to go into overtime and figure things out. No, you don't even get that opportunity because you missed an extra point. And that's why I will say I get frustrated with kickers, but I ain't going to air out my grievances about that right now.
I have a grievance. How have we not shown the Georgia-Auburn highlight yet?
Girl, you know what the discussion around that is. No.
Oh, because
we can't.
Yeah, see there?
Why haven't we talked more about it?
See there? Look
We're
at
36 minutes into the show.
So here's what we need to look at now. So it's LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia. They all win. They all stay. Alabama wins. So Minnesota's number 8. So really, we're just waiting on what happens in the West Coast.
They're
to
done.
determine 6
Let's
and
talk
7,
about the top 4
Utah.
teams, particularly the number 4 team.
I'll do it.
They're done. Minnesota's done.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
They're definitely
they're
falling out.
That's a wrap.
After hopping from 17 to 8.
Correct.
See you later.
Correct.
You're back in the double.
And it's so funny how things just sort of shake out with this college football stuff, right? Like, we always kind of prepare for these chaos theories of, you know, what if so-and-so goes undefeated, so-and-so only has 1 loss, that's your Big Ten champion, yada, yada, yada. But things just tend to work themselves out in college football, man. And
cream rises to the top.
That's precisely what the case ends up being. You got anything else going on?
Yeah, it was actually a very, very good day for the great state of Iowa.
Okay.
Hawkeyes and Cyclones included. So we're going back to Iowa. We got number 19 Texas visiting the Cyclones. May I please have the video? Does that work better? Oh, look, see, I said please the first time. Here we go. This is Sam Ehlinger finding Malcolm Elps. That's a 7-yard score. After he does a little scrambling, little juking, little jiving. Iowa State up a score until that touchdown. Okay, so Texas is going to take the lead.
I see you diet Deshaun Watson.
Given
Diet Deshaun Watson.
Diet Deshaun.
Diet Deshaun.
Connor Asseley. This is a 36-yard attempt.
Let's go, kicker.
3 seconds. After Treavor just slandered kickers.
I didn't slander them.
Kicker just said, you know what, Treavor? Eat it. Iowa State
them.
knocks off number 19 Texas, and I think we've had this discussion all season long. Texas is either like, we expected that, gosh, we expected more, okay, this doesn't surprise us, and it's just another instance that Texas is just like, all right, when will Texas be back to Texas?
Look, man, the days of kind of estimating what back is for Texas and when they will be in that state of being, I think you need to stop it. Like, the whole expectations thing, adjust them, right? Like, understand what your back is going to be, and it ain't that high. Just kind of be cool. Just be cool.
Hey, that bar, lower it.
Texas is the Jacksonville Jaguars of college football. Like every year we
That's bad.
No, it's not, because every year they'll have one bright glimmer of hope at the end of the year, and then people will be like, oh snap, my preseason expectations are that Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be my sleeper pick for this or that, and then they always show themselves. And I think people thought, oh, Texas football's back after they beat a totally uninspired and heartbroken Georgia team in their bowl game last year. So all of a sudden it was like, oh, Texas is back because we beat Georgia, who didn't care and wasn't playing for anything except for Chick-fil-A sandwiches or whatever they were playing for. And then at the beginning of the year, I had the opportunity again, right? Yep. First game out of the gate to say, Texas football's back, and they showed right then they weren't. So.
I'll tell you, though, I mean, it was impressive watching them against LSU, but until they showed that they weren't that necessarily that team on a week-to-week basis.
It was the first game of the season.
It is what it is.
I was at that game. LSU pulled away, and the score was a lot less indicative of what you actually saw physically, because Texas just sort of amped it up there in the second half. But LSU was in complete dominance of that game
the whole time.
And I'm just so impressed by just LSU and the run that they've made. But again, I think we kind of need to adjust the expectations that people have for Tom Herman and that Texas program, right? Again, it's not bad to go 8-4, right? But just understand that
Texas, sure is.
With the money that they're putting behind that program, show you right. Show you right. But it is a matter of just understanding that in this current state, you're not about to compete for that national championship. So just everybody,
not at cool. 6-4.
Just be cool. Just be cool. We gonna pick this thing up right here on the College Sports Hour Show.
Are they even bowl eligible? Can we say are they bowl eligible before we say are they bad?
They sure are. 6 wins will do
it. 6 wins, man.
Let's get it.
That's all it requires. This is Holy Cow. This is the top plays portion of our program. We can't say holy bleep. It is a family program, so we just say Holy Cow. And the first play comes to you out of the Wisconsin-Nebraska game that we talked about earlier. A.J. Taylor.
Tackle that man.
Off me. You won't be able to tackle him, Gary, because he's a monster. A 55-yard crib call.
Get off me.
Through all kinds of contact, keeping the balance. That's the drill. That's the drill.
And who are they playing again?
That's your Scott Frost boy.
Scott Frost, Nebraska.
Did you take marks off because they were playing Nebraska?
Oh, wow.
Those black shirts.
My score is 83. I thought it was a good play.
Fantastic.
55 yards.
It was great. Aided by terrible tackling, but yes, fantastic.
No, it's not no shortage of bad on the other sideline, but that don't mean we can't gas up the individuals that end up going out there and making the play, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt like it was good enough. You want to give it a go?
You give the details because I don't know any of the details of this play.
We can just.
Okay,
it's a big fella. Yeah.
Mine is a big man touchdown. Ball State goes to offensive lineman Danny Pinter for the touchdown.
Throwback.
Pinter, by the way, 6'4" and 300 pounds.
Are you impressed?
So, okay, here's the thing.
Do you think?
I understand that because he's an offensive lineman and whatever, we want to be oh my God, color me impressed. It should be 100. The big man
should be, yeah.
First of all, because big men are supposed to have good feet.
Fast.
But he could have walked into the end zone. He didn't exactly have to beat anybody in a foot race. Secondly, he's a football player. He's not Rudy. Ooh. What are we they didn't put the water boy in. What do you want me to give him 100 because he successfully followed his blocking, which was really there was 4 O-linemen. So here's my score at 56.
You see that ball high and tight. Trevor, he's a running back at Harvard.
Now I will say what was very impressive. That would be impressive. Does he have as many career touchdowns as you have?
Don't do that.
Which is how many, Trevor?
1.
Don't do that.
He has 1. What do you?
Can't count that high.
Too many. I can't count.
I did like that the kid high-stepped at the end.
Buckets. Understand that. Hate don't look
Wrong
good
sport.
on you, Elle.
No, I know. I understand. Listen, I was at Harvard with this man. He's a legend there. They love him. Come back.
I ain't got that left in me. Gary, what you got?
We about to watch this.
Dramatic turn?
Last time I literally did what I'm about to do, I ended up in a jail cell. Let's go!
Come on, Pat, come through.
Pat?
Yeah!
Video has everything.
Yo, he's living his
For
best
starters,
life.
a bolo tie.
Okay.
Secondarily, a pontoon boat.
Okay.
Adults dressed as mascots and jumping into the Brazos, which I'd imagine is one of the cleanest fresh bodies of water that runs through the great state of Texas. This gets not 100. This gets a 99. And I do it for the brand because Pat McAfee is an entertainer. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. He jumped in that with a full suit, and that suit looks expensive because he's got millions of dollars. He played in the NFL. He gets a 99 because he wanted to belly flop, but he put his arms out. It wasn't full belly flop.
You named a lot of specific nouns in there between the name of the river, the attire he was wearing, the type of boat that he jumped. I knew maybe like 2 of them.
I lived in Texas on 2 separate occasions.
Through
and through Texas. Houston, Dallas.
Kept Austin weird. Like
Austin's awesome. Was just there.
Why
Had
did we
a
put
Texas
his
game getting whacked.
Why did we put his full given name on the screen? Patrick Justin McAfee. Yeah,
because he is a legend. He deserves it. Hey, you get all 3 names up there when you pull some stuff like that on college game.
Patrick
you guys gonna put his
Justin
address
McAfee.
up there next?
Remember the name.
What's also hilarious is that he fully expected to just not be back. He was like, "This is it for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this."
Yeah.
By the way, Pat, we're gonna need you for a couple instants for SportsCenter. Can you come on up here, full wetsuit and all? By the way, you're gonna have to pay for that mic. Those are expensive.
See, that's a great note to kind of end the Holy Council because it kind of had a little bit of a bruh element to it, and obviously those of you who are watching college football show presented by AT&T are very familiar with this segment. But for those that haven't, bruh is a segment in which all you could say is
bruh.
Correct. And we should go ahead and fire that first highlight. Penn State.
Hey, okay.
And so Sean Clifford, I was surprised. Like he had a little juice to it.
He got a little sauce.
He got a little sauce.
A very little, but there's sauce. Okay.
And you can tell, like, I think he's on beat, but this one here.
Yeah. What is he? Who is he dressed as?
I don't know. He's like an undead football player.
Yeah,
Who says that's a mask?
But in the leather helmet days.
Duh. Look, man, Sean Clifford out here clowning, and I'm here for it, right? Like, he got a little groove to him. I can't hate it. It is a bruh moment nonetheless, but it's that one there though.
I want to know what song was playing. That's always the most intriguing part. I mean, I know
no doubt.
because of music rights, we can't actually do that, but I always wonder, was he just probably jamming to Kenny Chesney? Because that would markedly change whether I think that was saucy or not. You know what I mean?
No Shoes Nation.
She thinks my tractor sexy. Because he had the knee out and the point. It really turns her on, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, sure.
It was probably like Miley Cyrus. He was probably doing Jay's on my feet.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a more
right, which seems like something they'd play at college football
that makes
stadium,
sense.
If they're playing that at Beaver Stadium, I'd be upset. Don't do that.
Sticking with the Big Ten, something else that'll make Gary Striewski upset. A fake punt that went awry. Yeah, that's just not great.
Wait, what happened?
Same game, just a different team making an appearance in this here segment.
Oh, we're in Indiana. Okay, not
It's coach. This looked like one of those things that was like, hey, schematically, if you get this look, call this fake. and then it went terribly, and then, what are we doing?
Did they inform the players that it was
I don't know. It looked like nobody knew what was going on because they clearly just let the floodgates go. It was all kinds of bad, just letting everybody and their mama into the backfield, disrupting that fake punt. It's unfortunate for the Big Ten. They making all kinds of appearances.
Really?
Yeah, Big Ten is just running the segment here on, bruh. Rutgers and Ohio State is the next entry, and this is so much more about the celebration. We'll revisit another celebration from earlier in the season in a minute, but this here, my man just ran a touchdown. Why you gotta buck him down like that?
He's a little guy, too. That was mean.
Yeah, that ain't necessary, man. Let that man live.
Pick on someone your own size.
And then look.
I forgot about that.
This one.
Same team.
Yo, he's still in the concussion protocol. That's yikes.
Hold that.
To their credit, Rutgers was only down 21 at the time. They just scored a touchdown against Ohio State. That's probably the closest, besides at the start of the game when things were tied at 0, that they were going to get in that game. I give you a pass for being very, very excited. getting that.
Do you give him a pass for that right hook that you saw from September 21st?
No, you got to fight. You got to
box. You got to box.
If you do hit you like that, you're like, hey man, listen, that wasn't cool.
Yeah,
got to fight.
Who's getting more crap in the locker room? The dude that like knocked his teammate over, or the teammate that got knocked out? Right?
They got to fight.
Like, who are you clowning more?
It's 6.5 a dozen. Anybody can get these jokes. That's just the fact of the matter. This next one here, Elle, you have.
Yes.
I'm conceding to Elle on this one here because she had plenty to talk about between.
I just don't understand how this is something you want to be famous for. Like, you're like, I mean, I get it. Like, maybe it's like laughable. You know, these two, Treavor Lawrence and this girl. I don't know her name. I'm sorry.
Bella Martina.
Everyone says Bella looks exactly like Treavor Lawrence. They met each other. It's been a whole thing. They interviewed her during the game. They keep showing her during the game. She wears the headband so that she looks like him. And I just don't understand, like, what part of you says, like, I love being compared to looking like a boy. So does Treavor Lawrence look like a girl, or does she look like a man? I'm so confused as to why this is something you want to be known for.
Those are mutually exclusive, right?
Yeah, it sort of just seems like
right?
It seems like you're just like it just seems like it's something that like you're supposed to be making fun of people for that. Right?
It's
like
all,
you're supposed to. It's not something that you're like, I look just like Treavor Lawrence. Let me wear the headband and try to look like him. Like next game, she's gonna show up in a uniform and like try to fool people. It's just like this. It's
that
just
would be odd. That would be odd. But I think
going
more
with
than anything,
this?
what sells it for me is the flow, right? Like the immaculate flow that Trevor Lawrence has, right? Like
they just have blonde hair.
But it's but like the grade of it, it is an impressive flow for both of those individuals. Can you not like?
Listen.
And let me guess, you probably, when you first saw him play, were like, get it, Sunshine. I mean, it's like the same thing. It's like, if it's a blonde quarterback with long blonde hair, we call him Sunshine.
It is exhausting because
It's
a lot of people are like,
annoying.
Gary, you look so much like Charles Melton and Henry Golding from Crazy Rich Asians and Dean Cain and Mario Lopez. You know,
Nobody ever
it's
accused
really-
you of looking like Dean Cain, so you need to take several seats. Like, that's not
It's
happen.
just so exhausting, you know, being compared to these attractive doppelgangers.
Yeah,
you
you're
know,
always
so
compared to
it's just-
Abercrombie models.
It's just
and, like,
unbelievable.
Bella, it's not the same.
Bella, I feel your pain. Trevor,
don't.
I also feel your pain.
I don't have.
Bella, you're way prettier than Treavor Lawrence.
I don't have anything else to say. Gary, you might as well just take
Stop
the next segment.
comparing
I'm
yourself to
gonna just
him.
lay out at this point. Like, why
Oh,
would you walk in with that? Why would you limp in with that contribution to the discussion?
Because, you know, Elle was going in on my girl Bella, and I just had to get Bella's back right there. You know what I'm saying? Hey, who is your celebrity doppelganger, by the way? Who do you get? Who do you
Me?
get? Yeah, who do you get?
Whoever's light skinned and popular at the time. And
Okay, so-
it's never it. But I certainly I don't like when I used to get Scary Spice all the time because the Spice Girls were popular and my hair was curly. I didn't like dressed in plastic pants so that I would look like her. I mean, I didn't try. Oh, Scary Spice.
crazy.
Christina Milian, Faith Evans. I'm telling you, whoever's light skinned and popular at the time.
Mark Ingram, what about you?
Heisman Trophy winner, Mark.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. My bad.
Oh my God, is that who you get?
Oh, all the time. All
You
the
get
time.
Mark. Do you pretend
There
that
was
you're
like
Mark
I was at the
Ingram ever?
Heisman Trophy ceremony one year, and I happened to stand below the portrait of Mark, and somebody caught a photo of it.
Have you ever used that for your advantage to like, get into stuff? Right?
I am Heisman Trophy winning running back. Like, sir, this is a 99. You can just sit anywhere.
This is the 99.
Yes, sir. There's no way.
Yeah, don't worry,
You want
sir.
some popcorn and some of them crackers?
This is a 99.
Sir, this is a Popeyes drive-through. No one cares.
Everybody in New England knows what's good at the 99 and that pub cheese. Anyway, enough about doppelgangers. It is time for the best segment of the week. I'm selfish, I call it that.
debatable.
This man, give me that. Basically what that is the best compilation of catches we've seen throughout the course of the week leading up to today and even some today. So, best catches, man, give me that. Let's roll it. We're starting in the battle of the Paul Bunyan Trophy. This right here is Lavert Hill with the tip drill interception. See, it would have been a nice one-handed grab for Sparty,
But he's afraid of greatness.
didn't end up that way. That's Michigan's second interception of the game, and they go on and wax Michigan State. See, I thought this game was going to be a lot closer, and then, all right, they played at the big house, and Harbaugh, for some reason, well, not for some reason, but he had his dudes ready to play. This is just a primer for Ohio State when they host them in 2 weeks. So Michigan fans, celebrate the win right now, but it's all about Ohio State in a couple of weeks. Am I not right?
Yeah.
Okay.
A real quick interjection.
Sure.
This is the perfect segment for CeeDee Lamb, by the way. He has not entered the game just yet. He's holding his helmet on the sideline, and that Baylor and Oklahoma matchup. The star wideout for the Oklahoma Sooners. Like he's just chilling right now. I just kind of wanted to update.
So there must be like something that we're going to hear about, maybe missing curfew. I can't just throw that out there, right?
Ain't no telling.
Do we have that on anywhere?
Ain't no telling. Right here, lower right corner.
Okay.
As Elle tries to find the TV
man,
as to where
give me
it
that
is.
playing time, coach. Like, we need to win this game, and we will keep it moving. West Virginia, Kansas State. This is Josh Norwood, and this, we say full extension a lot. That is full extension. You could hyperextend one of those obliques, maybe even both of them. Take some yoga right there.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, that's a nice interception. Against Kansas State, who is playing good football right now. So West Virginia, I love the song. John Denver, great guy. Love the song.
Not gonna sing
wish
it?
I
Shout
can't.
out to the rights?
We didn't pay it, right?
Yeah, dog.
So we can't. So we're just gonna keep it moving.
Check, bro.
Don't
Man, give me that. More great catches. I think we're staying in the Big 12. And tell me this isn't the most football name you've heard today. Dalton Rigdon.
Yeah.
Texas Tech touchdown. One of those guys is Dalton Rigdon. Who's the one that comes up with the ball?
Right.
Because whoever gets up with the ball
there he is.
Dalton. Oh, there goes Dalton Rigdon right there.
Hey,
I thought that was a collaborative effort. One was Dalton, one was Rigdon, but no, just one guy, Dalton Rigdon. Texas Tech touchdown. Man, give me that. Next, we're going to the University of Alabama, Birmingham, which I visited. Lovely campus, good basketball team.
Did you just want some gear from there? Is that why you shouting them out?
I don't know why we were even there. But go ahead and set 545 Middle Street. No. Jordan Hopkins finds Byron Mitchell with the beautiful 40-yard hookup. Man, give me that with the defender draped all over.
Hey, if I may, can we go back to Dalton Rigby? I know you're not supposed to trust anybody with 2 first names. Do you trust people with 2 last names?
That's a great question. That's not been presented to me. I will say yes. I'm going to go with
I was just curious. I thought I
2 last names.
2 last names.
I went to elementary school with a dude named Duncan McNeil. And from a very early age, I was like, should I trust him? He has 2 last names. He was a great kid.
Oh, well, good.
He was a very nice
Duncan,
kid.
we
He was
hope
now
you're
probably a
doing well.
middle-aged man. So, Duncan, if you're watching.
Small sample size, but so far, 1 for 1.
Yeah.
We're wrapping up, man. Give me that with the final beautiful catch of the day. Unfortunately, it didn't end beautifully for the Gophers. That right there is Rashad Bateman, who had a monster game last week, put him on the map, goes up over Iowa defensive back. Why do you say that?
Just an observation.
You know why.
The scouting report kind of indicates this.
You know why.
We all know how that game ended, unfortunately, for Minnesota. Those college football playoff hopes
He's scrappy and fast.
are
deceptively.
dead. Minnesota loses. Iowa wins, and that was, man, give me that.
Big
Best
locker
catches
room
of the
guy.
week.
Big locker room.
Big
guy.
locker room.
We appreciate that, Gary. The next segment on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. Your drip of the day.
Drip, drip.
Yes.
All the best gear that you done seen all day. We'll start things off with something simple from them.
Shout out Philly.
The Cherry Red. Shout out Philly and Meek Mill indeed. Tough, written on top of the helmet. It's a clean look, right?
Yeah, I like it.
Coast Guard. I found out that they had an academy today.
Today?
Yes.
The day that I found out they play a little ball.
Semper
I was today years old.
Paratus. Always ready. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
And I will say the red, white, and blue is one of my favorite colorways. But it's got to be royal blue, not navy blue.
That's an interesting take. I actually prefer the navy blue. We'll finish things off with your favorite school.
Of course.
All of the country, evidently, Gary.
545.
UAB.
Middle Street, Bristol, Connecticut.
The red, white, and blue emblem on the helmet there for Veterans Week and everything like that. And the dragon scales, all the details that go into the mascot being what it is for UAB. Nice little set of uniforms on the day. Y'all got a favorite between the 3 of those?
Yeah, my shoes. Ooh, I came through dripping
Oh, a
too.
slight flex.
Elle, say it. Where
For
did
the
you?
room.
You can't get those in America, literally.
I got them in Japan when
a
I went
flex.
there on vacation.
Okay.
My favorite's UAB, just because they always drip. They always have cool uniforms. They do. I think they have fresh.
And
fresh.
a dragon is such an underrated mascot. Nobody just has dragons as
Yeah.
their mascot. Like,
That's
hey,
true.
Hey, let's be a bear. Let's be some
It feels
large cat.
underutilized.
Yeah.
It feels underutilized for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Like-
I don't think many people go into the reptilian base.
I'm
to
telling you
kinda
right
get
now, they made dragons
mascot.
a lot cooler way before Khaleesi and everybody in Game of Thrones made dragons like an it thing.
That's
Shout out
what's up.
UAB, 545 Mill Street.
I just want to be
How much
clear.
more gear do you want to get, Gary?
Is that our address, by the way?
Anybody else you want to shout out?
I think you keep throwing it out there,
don't
so you
know.
gonna get some stuff in your
I think if
mailbox.
that's what
and I don't
you-
think
I think
you're
if you
gonna be too
Google
proud of.
ESPN, yeah,
Yeah,
so
just
anyway.
watch out on that. Also, sad fans, let's get to it. This is the part where we actually, I know we've been getting jokes off all day. I was getting ready to set it up by saying we get jokes off in this portion of the show.
Right.
No, we've been doing this.
I know.
But here are your sad fans.
God, that could have been
From
me
week
about
12.
10 minutes ago.
Boy. On the show open, that was you.
Yeah.
Uh,
upset.
Aww.
Oh, that's Iowa State, but they won.
But they did win.
So eventually, my man's here was happy. I have trouble identifying.
That's definitely an Iowa fan, right?
It looks like Iowa State again. I'm looking at the back.
We got an Iowa State guy in the back.
But these fans aren't sad.
But they.
There we go.
There it is.
Texas, sad Texas.
There it is. That's what we want.
Wah, wah.
I like the
he could just be cold
on the big fella's hat.
There he is. Oh yeah, the side, the deep side.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder who he's a fan of.
Yeah, there ain't a whole lot of mystery in that one there.
Aw.
He is upset with PJ Fleck.
That's upset too because like last week, Minnesota, they sold out their stadium for the first time in forever. It's cold in Minnesota. People came out literally of their gopher holes. They're trying to stay warm, and they came out to support this team.
No, he didn't.
PJ Fleck, crowd surfing. He had the little foot warmers on his socks. I wanted to see that again, and now all of a sudden.
No, listen, that does not change a single freaking thing. Like, they have a lot to be. Iowa, as you've mentioned many times, has taken out far greater opponents than that, right? So, like, there is no shame in losing at Kinnick Stadium. No shame in it at all. It doesn't change what PJ Fleck's done with that program. It doesn't change the fact that he deserved that extension. None of that. They have done a fantastic job. They never, in my opinion, belonged in the playoffs. That certainly won't be a debate anymore. But that doesn't take away from what's been a fantastic season.
I just wanted the chaos that would have ensued for the course of the next couple weeks, especially if they built up this momentum. And the comments right now are a dumpster fire anyway. But can you imagine the people doing all these hypotheticals? Is if Minnesota plays Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, and if they beat Ohio State, does that mean they're into the college? Because if they would have beat an Ohio State team, right, undefeated, like you can't not make that argument. So I would have just liked to see the chaos ensue.
And I'm wrong with chaos, but like hypotheticals are a thing that we only deal with in theory, and we had to get into the things that actually happen. Do we have that one more? What's going on as far as what's going down right now over on ABC? Baylor and Oklahoma going down. It was, excuse me, Charlie Brewer, Baylor QB, sacked on the play. Oklahoma, their defense showing up in a play for us as they get rolling down there in Waco. So that, as it stands right now, they are still scoreless. A loss of 6 yards for the Baylor QB there. But make sure you check that game out going down right now on ABC. And literally, the family of ESPN networks, you checking out your equipment? Oh, go ahead, get the hell.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go. Hey, y'all remember? I wish we had that video queued up. I forgot to ask for it. She was on the Jumbotron and asked. It was great.
Yeah. Elle can walk out that hum and no one will say nothing.
In any case, we appreciate y'all joining us here on the College Football Show, presented by AT&T. Treavor Scales, Elle, Duncan.
I can't wait to lose to LSU in the SEC championship.
We appreciate y'all watching on Twitter, YouTube Live, and the ESPN app. We appreciate the production staff for rolling with all the punches, because Lord knows there are plenty of ways to ride with. We appreciate y'all joining us. That has been Week 12. Enjoy the rest of it. We'll see y'all Week 13.
Bark on the way out.
Oh!
Yes! Oh my God. These are hurting my ears.
Yo.